For
Okay.
example, from 50 to
No.
70?
No? All right, I need a piece of paper. Anybody? Any? Oh, okay. Okay. All right, so you guys know the bet. What's the bet? What is the bet? If I write your exact weight on this paper, then you have to give me $50, okay?
Yes.
All right, so
She's weight for now, today?
all right, how much do you weigh?
56.
56, okay. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't write 56, but I still win the bet.
Why?
Because I wrote
Exact weight.
your exact weight, all right? You got it, right? Did you know that one? Okay. You gotta be careful in this world, okay? I should have done it with you, okay? All right? You gotta be careful, guys, okay? All right, I'm gonna maybe do one more, and then I'm gonna kind of switch gears a little bit here, okay?
Що 20 було? Який у вас був?
Where did my tea go? Can I have some tea? Oh.
Jimmy, do you have tea? Because I ordered for you one.
Well, I was gonna get coffee, but I can have tea too.
So, do you want
Maybe
coffee?
one-
Yeah, I would take one of those, yeah, possible. If it's okay?
This is what I
Yeah.
What?
This is what I girls have latte.
That's fine, that's
Давай
fine.
там було.
І для Jimmy ще одна latte.
Одна латте,
Одна
одна чай.
одна і одна чай.
Okay. Okay, guys, I want you to look at this one. Now, I kind of thought this one up myself, all right? All right, Sergey is an energetic violin player, it should be player, that is out of work. He has no job. His uncle offers him a job as a stockbroker. You know what a stockbroker is? You know, he works selling stocks. He knows nothing about stocks, and he hates his job. He has learned nothing new in 8 months he has worked for his uncle, so he's not very motivated. Yet after 8 months, he has 6 very satisfied customers who say he is never wrong. They are ready to invest all their money in whatever Sergey says. How did he do this? This guy, Sergey, knows nothing about the stock market. He hates his job. He's learned nothing new. And yet, after 8 months of working, there are 6 people that say, this guy's a genius. He's never wrong.
And how much people are there that say this guy is not genius? He's okay. Yes.
All right? You're going definitely in the right direction. All right, how did he do it? How did he do it? This is the way some people operate, by the way, and this is why we have to be careful in this world. Sergey starts out with 100 customers, okay? 100 clients. He tells 50% the stock market's going to go up. He tells 50% it's going to go down. So he's right how many times? He's right 50%. So now he's got 50 people that are very happy and 50 that are not. So he takes these 50 that are happy, he tells 25, it's going up again. He tells the other 25, it's going down. So now he's got how many people happy with him? 25. And he does it again 2 months later. He tells 12 people, it's going up, and 13, it's going down. Now he's got 12 people that are happy with him. Okay? And then with those 12, he does the same trick again. Okay? It would be easy for me to tell you guys, why don't you go and talk with this company I worked at 3 years ago. They'll tell you what a great worker I am. I'm not going to tell you about all the companies I work for that would probably tell you I'm not a good worker. You know what I'm saying? The idea here is that we shouldn't believe everything that people say. And there are ways for even a person who's not very skilled to sometimes get it right. To sometimes do the right thing. It's just a matter of percentages. And we usually don't ask those questions. We take one person, and if that one person says, yeah, he's doing a great job, then we think he's a great worker, okay? There is a bias called the halo effect. Does anybody know what the halo effect is? It's a bias.
What do you mean by bias?
A bias is a preconceived idea about a situation. For example, a halo effect might be this. What we know is that, let's say tall men. If you're a tall man and you apply for a job, you're given preference because some people think that tall men are smarter than short men. That is what we call a bias. But the halo effect really is, if I'm a very good writer, if I write very well, and somebody likes my writing, they may also think that I'm a very good public speaker. They might also think that I'm a very good cook. Okay? They take one positive quality that a person has, and they associate it with other positive qualities. So if you're good in one thing, you must be good in other things. Okay? Now the opposite of that is the devil effect. If you're bad in one thing, it must mean you're bad in other things too. Okay? We have to get away from that thinking. We can't just assume that just because a person does one thing well, that they do other things well. Okay? That people do things well and people do things not very well. We're not going to be skilled in everything that we do. Okay? Those are biases. Okay? And I might get into that. But I'm going to go here for guidelines for good thinking. And again, we have to understand that some of the beliefs that we have, some of the thoughts that we have about the world are not very accurate. Can anybody here tell me something that you thought was true for many years, but then you realized wasn't true? Can you think of some situation where you changed your mind about something?
I thought that there is a song about like something, because like I didn't know English, so it was in our something world, and I thought that this is a song about me, like it was in a plastic world, something like that. But I thought it sounds like my name.
In a material world? Madonna?
No. Something like for years, like I wasn't studying English, I was at school.
Okay.
So for several years I was thinking that this is a song about me, about my name.
Okay,
And then I
getcha. Yeah.
get to the university, get to know what does mean linking in English language, and then I realized that Ina is not like my name, but just in our plastic
gotcha.
world, like that.
Yeah. Well, that happens a lot when you listen to music, where there are songs that I still don't know the exact lyrics to because you think they're saying one thing, but they're saying something totally different. And yeah, that's happened to me. The same thing has happened to me. You'll almost have to look at the lyrics written to really understand what they're saying. Because when you're singing something, you might get it wrong. Okay? So again, that would be an example where you think something is one way when it's really not. But can anybody tell me a belief that you had for a long time? You thought something was true and then you realized after many years it wasn't.
For example, being adult is a perfect world.
Yeah, that, being an adult, or maybe you thought that adults are all responsible, intelligent. That's what I thought when I was like your age or a little bit younger. I thought adults, you know, when I get to be adult, when I get to be a big man, when I start growing hair on my face, I'll be, you know, like all these other people. I'll be smart, I won't have problems, I'll know what to do. And I realized when I graduated from high school that adults have just as many problems, if not more, than kids. That some people never grow up. That some adults just stay childlike. And just because you're an adult does not mean you're mature. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're an adult doesn't mean you don't have big problems. Most adults do not manage their lives very well at all. Okay? So yeah, I think that's a hard lesson to learn because we want to rely on adults. We respect adults as teenagers and realize that they just as many problems as we have as kids. Other things that you may have changed your opinion about as you've gotten older?
Okay, so me, I was like, when I was sick, like until I was 6, I thought that swimming is the hard procedure. I don't know, like swimming is hard. And I was afraid of swimming. And then at the age of 7, I guess, I was put into a swimming pool and I tried, and I got the teacher that I was told how to swim, and now I'm like the good swimmer. So yeah, it was like from the long period of time from my childhood, I was afraid of that, and I thought this is hard and wrong, and now I'm like, I don't know, ready to swim. Like, I know how to do that.
Okay, so you just changed your belief. You've taken a fear. Sometimes we take our fears. Sometimes we're afraid of things. And we learn how to overcome our fears. Is there anything that somebody was really afraid of, maybe when you were younger, but now are not afraid of these things at all? What about the dark? Was anybody afraid of the dark as a child? And now you can't sleep? Right now I'm in a hostel where there's like glass on the top, and they can't turn the light off outside the hostel room, so there's always light coming into my hostel room. It's not this light, but you know, and it's hard. I was always afraid of the dark as a child, but now I love the dark, especially when I'm sleeping.
You know, in Doctor, there is a nice picture which came to my mind that when it was said, like when I was a child, I was afraid of the dark, of the darkness. But then I realized that the room is mine and all the monsters are mine, and then like so I'm the like master of these monsters. So just change your perceive of this world.
Right. It's called reframing, where you take ownership, you take mastery over whatever you're afraid of. Yeah. I just put an exercise. This might be what I think a critical thinker does is whatever belief you have, and I've been told, I guess that's mine? Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. I was told when I came here to Lvov that a lot of people in Lvov felt that Ukrainian should be the language that is spoken here, and that you shouldn't speak Russian, right?
But shouldn't, because maybe
It's,
who was born in Ukraine needed to know
Okay.
Ukrainian.
okay. Well, what I would ask you guys to do is whatever belief that you have about the world, that you are able to argue the opposite position. Okay? So you might be a person who is against abortion. You know what abortion is? Abortion is when you take the life of a fetus. Okay? An unborn fetus. We're not going to use the word child, okay, because it's very sensitive. But a lot of people in America are against abortion. All right? They're against, once there is conception, once life is created inside the woman, it's sacred and it should not be destroyed. Okay? But what I would argue is this: whatever position you have, you should be able to argue the opposite position. You should be able to know the reasons why somebody would have a very different position than you. If you cannot argue the opposite position, then your position is much weaker. Okay? So whatever opinion you have about anything, maybe you have an opinion that you shouldn't eat meat, that being a vegetarian is better. Well, you should be able to argue why some people like meat and why people eat meat, okay? And as long as you can do that, you will make sense and you'll be listening, okay? That's what I'm saying, all right? Okay. And again, this is the assumption that somebody else's viewpoint is just as valid as our viewpoint, okay? I spelled concepts wrong. Data. A lot of our beliefs come from the information that we get. Or where do you guys get your information? How do you know what is real? How do you know what is not real? Where do you get your...
parents, friends, from books.
Do you believe everything your parents tell you?
No,
No.
but I compare my parents tell me, all I read, and everything
Okay.
other people tell me.
Okay.
And it's my own opinion.
Should you always base your opinion on what you hear?
No, not only on my hearing.
Okay. Is it good to base our thinking on what we hear? How do you know what is true?
We see, we feel.
All right. Are you more likely to believe something you see versus what you hear? If you see something, do you believe it? Do you hear it if you believe it? If you see something you don't...
in God, but we don't know. Or
You can't see God. Is that what you're
we
saying?
can't see Him, but we believe.
Okay, so what do we call that concept? If you can't see something, but you still believe it, what do we call that?
Faith.
Faith. It's called faith, yeah. And yes, there are things that we do believe in that we cannot see. All right? And that has to do with faith. But I think the concept I'd like to talk about now is where do we get our information? And how do we know that any information that we get is accurate or true? Now, a few days ago, one of my best friends called me up and said, did you know that Russia is no longer allowing Americans to adopt Russian children because 20 Russian children have been killed in the USA? Now, that's what she told me. All right, and she said she got it right from the news. Now, my response to her was, wait a second. Let's look at this situation a little bit more carefully. What else do we need to know before we can make a conclusion? Her conclusion was what? When she made this statement to me, what was her conclusion? What was she thinking?
This is forbidden to adopt children from Russia.
I think and that is a fact. I think Putin has now made it into law. Do you guys know that?
Yeah.
Putin has made it into law.
It was made into law like a week ago.
Yeah, okay. And so it is a law. The question is, what else would we need to know to figure out, when you use the word killed, what does that mean?
Somebody killed the child. Like, it was the reason, actually, the murder.
Murder, right. Murder and killed are synonymous here. All right? Would it have changed if she would have used the word died?
Yeah.
And actually, that would have been the more proper word to use in this situation, was died, not killed. Died is completely different than killed. Okay?
And there could be different reasons for death.
Right, and it's not always the result of intentional wrongdoing on the part of the adoptive parents. Now, there were a couple's parents in America that did kill, abuse, physically abuse these kids and did kill them, and they're being, they're in the court system, they're in the criminal justice system. But some of those 20 children were not murdered or killed. They died from extenuating circumstances. What else would we need to know in order to make an intelligent conclusion about this?
How did she die?
How did they die? Yeah, you'd have to look at each one of those cases. How did they die? Were they ill before they came to America? Okay? The article...
How many these children, how many children died in Russia?
How many children, or would these 20,
For the
how many of
same
these...
reasons?
Yeah, exactly. Or how many of these 20 would have died had they not gone to the United States? How many Russian children are adopted every year in the United States?
And what is the positive
Yeah.
How
side
many
of this?
children dies in America?
Yeah, well, actually, you know, that is a problem, by the way. We do have, that's what I worked. I worked in Child Protective Services. And every year in the United States, there are several hundred children that are murdered by their parents. They're killed by their parents. And most of those children are very young. They're the victims of shaken baby syndrome, where a parent shakes their baby. And we have a lot of fatalities. We have several hundred children every year of various ages that are killed by their parents. Okay? The question is that this is also an emotional topic, because whenever you see the death of a child, you are there's something more emotional about it. Okay? All right.
The law that was written by President of Russia, it was after that message or before?
I don't know. That would be a good question. Okay. I think that my friend just picked it up on the news. Okay. And I really...
maybe it's this message was they prepare the social opinion for that law.
Right, and you know, sometimes, you know, my feeling was that this was Putin's way of saying, look, America's got problems too. America's got big problems, okay? Now, part of this was the result of one situation where there was a Russian child that was adopted by an American woman. Now, this child had a lot of problems that the woman was not told about. Had disabilities, had problematic behavior, and the people in Russia said, he's going to be fine. When this kid got to the States, he was nothing but trouble for this woman. And after several months, the woman basically said, I can't deal with this child. And she literally took the kid to the airport and put him on an airplane, tried to just get rid of him, tried to put him on an airplane and send him back to Russia. And that caused a lot of problems in the press. It was a big deal. And of course the woman was saying, look, you didn't tell me about this kid's problems. He has a lot more problems than you told me about. So the adoption agencies in Russia were not honest with her. They make money when they get adoptions. For this kid to be adopted, they had to tell this woman that this kid didn't have as many problems as he did. Okay? That was what kind of started this whole thing about a year ago, and there have been other incidences since. But when we hear something or read something in the paper, we can't believe everything we hear.
Especially in the Russian news.
Yeah, in fact, even in America, I don't believe a lot of what people say. Do any of us, should any of us believe what we hear?
Look at the American or European news, and newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
It's more democratical. It's more truthful. It's more
Yeah,
some of the statements and topic you can believe. Really, yeah, you should get the proof, get to like read some laws or some, I don't know, pictures.
Yeah.
But especially in Russian TV programs, TV shows that give us some truth, it could really, it has a lot of sides.
Yeah, well, almost everything that's on TV, almost every news program that's on TV has a bias. They are trying to paint something in a certain direction. And my belief, maybe I become very cynical in this world, but I tend not to believe anything people tell me anymore. And it's not because I think people are dishonest, but people tell me all kinds of things. You know, since I got to Lvov 2 weeks ago, I've heard people tell me all kinds of things, and a lot of it is simply not true. So why should I believe what anybody says? I don't disbelieve what people tell me here, but I don't necessarily believe it either. I say, okay, could be true, may not be true. But I try to just keep an open mind with everything I hear. It's a little bit problematic. But in that way, I kind of save myself a little bit. But I tend not to believe what people tell me. And it's not that I'm accusing a person of lying. It's just that sometimes people give misinformation. They say things that turn out not to be true. And it's not because they're liars, it's just because at the time they did not have all the information to make the statement that they did. Okay? So be careful what you hear. Be careful what people tell you. We have an expression in America that talk is cheap. People can say anything. It's very easy to tell somebody something. But I base my opinions on people, on not what they say, but what they do. Does that make sense? You know, if a person says something and they do it, they get credibility. They move up on my credibility meter. If they say something and it doesn't work, they move down on my credibility meter. And everybody that I know is up and down on my credibility meter. Some people, I think, okay, what they say is probably very close to the truth. For other people, I don't listen to them at all, because they just talk and talk and talk, and I know people like that. I can't trust anything they say. But what you need to do is figure out who you can trust, who you can believe, figure out the source, and then kind of make your decision based on where this information is coming from. Does that make sense? And you guys are all pretty good at that, I think, okay?
So can I ask, what do you mean by phrase extreme language?
All right, extreme language. And this is basically the heart of cognitive therapy. And cognitive therapy, or cognitive psychology, basically is this. Your thoughts determine your behavior. Your thoughts determine your mood, okay? And so your thinking is what we try to change. When a person is sick mentally, and I'm going to guess that probably 15 to 20% of the population thinks in a way that is not healthy. If you can change the way a person sees the world, then you can change their behavior, you can change their mood. Now, when we talk about extreme language, give me an example of extreme language. Can somebody give me an example of extreme language? And we want to avoid that in critical thinking. There are certain words that you should not use, or you should reduce them.
For example, always.
Always. That's an extreme word.
Never.
Never. I will never be good at anything. Impossible. Learning Russian is impossible. Okay?
Promise.
Promise? Well, a promise is something you have to be very careful with. You should never promise